want to stay sober, you got to be tenacious about your recovery. My name is Vinny. I'm an alcoholic and an addict.
And I'm Sam. I'm an alcoholic and an addict.
And we are here in Mount Laurel, New Jersey, because we are a traveling podcast. Take it away, Sam.
It's with great pleasure that I introduce my longtime friend, Dannielle Bonds. Dannielle, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Sam?
I'm like so happy you're here. This one means a lot to me because Dannielle, in what, 2018?
17.
17.
I was 20 years old.
Was at my last place of work, was my team's intern. She was the intern for a large corporate company that I worked for on our team, on our marketing team. And we had seen a lot of interns at that time. A lot of times the intern was like a kid with a sweater vest whose mom was friends with the owner of the company. And he would run around the corporate office and like pretend to make copies of things and like drink all the Nespresso pods. But then we met Dannielle and like we had never seen anything like it before because she was like such a firecracker. Like she just had something to say to you about everything like instantly. You couldn't really like tell her anything. But everything.
Oh, that kind of an intern.
Yeah, that kind of
She
an
can't
intern.
really be taught.
Couldn't be taught, but like you could tell she was like soaking everything in so quickly. And what would have been like a very base level job, you know, entry level position intern, she was like running groups as an intern.
That's pretty cool.
She was like in the mix with everything over the course of how long? Like a year?
It was 6 months. And
It
then
was 6 months?
Yeah.
See, it felt like a lifetime.
But then I stayed on after for a little bit, which kind of.
Yeah, you got a job right after.
I did.
They like wanted her to stay. And she came around with me to meetings. Like I would like take her out to like all different types of stuff. I
So
would take
you
her
were
to lunch.
still in college when you were...
She went to You went to Drexel, right?
It was our co-op program.
Drexel Dragon.
Yeah. I did get my internship, though, because of who my dad was.
Of course, yeah.
Right? All through connection.
That's okay.
But it wasn't like the typical because of who he was.
Right.
Right? It was a phone call was made, do this favor for this person through this person. And that's how I landed in that position.
Well, I think probably because of who your dad was and what you grew up around, that's why you probably felt so comfortable in a treatment center right away.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you're like
I was like, I've seen this before.
You're like the goddaughter of Narcotics Anonymous. You know what I mean? The princess, the NA princess. I mean, your dad.
He was the prince of NA and
the godfather of NA in the Philly
in
area.
the greater
like
Philadelphia
brought it
area,
up.
without a
Like,
doubt.
you know, people always talk about, you know, people I know that are in NA, how their bloodline, if you will, their sponsorship line like leads back to Bobby Bonds. You know what I mean? Bobby Bonds was the guy, and he like,
everybody
lived
knew
it.
Bobby Bonds.
So it's like, you're Bobby's daughter?
Always.
I just said that in this very office.
Yeah.
I was like, wait a minute, you're Bobby's daughter. How about that?
So I've always been so interested to hear your entire story, if you will, right? Usually on our podcast, we talk about stories of recovery. But I think that for you to tell your story from your perspective would be so interesting, especially given that like your dad's not here anymore. You're like the last relic or figment of like his story. So why don't you start from the beginning of your, you know, from that perspective, tell me a little bit more about yourself.
Sure. So I grew up in a household that like from the outside was very normal, right? Mom and dad, siblings, all of that, went to public school, did after school activities. But then it was always like what happened behind closed doors. My dad was never secretive about being an addict. He was like wore it with pride, a lot of pride. From when I was born, he was sober, so I never experienced him in active addiction, but I experienced him helping those who suffered from substance abuse. And those people came in and out of my life, right? A young age, my dad would be at home with us. He had his 2 meetings a week he'd go to Tuesday and Thursday night. My mom was working full time, so my dad was responsible for me. And at this point, it was my younger brother wasn't born yet. So I'd go with my dad to NA meetings. It was a very normal thing. And then my dad started working with different people within the recovery community, right? Whether it was treatment centers or he worked for Amtrak at the time and started a program called Operation Red Block, and that was a big part of my childhood. After that, he started his own thing, right?
Yep.
And then it was also just the typical recovery work of having sponsees. I mean, there's things that stick out in my head right away of like, I remember coming home in high school and he was helping someone try and get into treatment and they're nodding out on my couch, right? That's not like a normal thing to come home from, being 14 years old and this is what you're seeing on your couch.
That was like a regular thing for you?
Yeah. Or the fact that like we would have his sponsees. It was always like, okay, who am I setting the dinner table for? How many people? Because we never knew how many people were going to be at our dinner table.
How about that?
Right?
Every night.
Yeah.
Like on a Wednesday.
On a Wednesday night.
Yeah.
I mean, the craziest night was his home group because he always got the newcomer to come pick him up.
Ah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because he didn't want to drive. That was the thing with my dad. It's like the knowledge I can tell you in the car on the way to the meeting.
It's more than you'll get at the meeting.
Exactly.
That's a great idea.
And you wanted to probably gauge their willingness too. Like, you got to come pick me up and then we're going to go here.
Oh, yeah, but they do it.
Oh, for sure.
Because
if you want it, you'll do it.
Well, that's the biggest thing, and that's how we always knew. And there were the people that been in now my life even, right, that I see, and it's like when I first met them, they couldn't get a day sober, and now they have 10 years sober, have their own companies, and are so successful and having all the things they've always dreamed of. But, like, I saw that before I even knew what that was.
Right.
Right?
That's pretty cool.
Oh, it's like ingrained in like your early developmental years.
Oh my
Like she was
gosh.
watching it happen, just like the selflessness. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Think about how that's ingrained in you and how it's not in others. Like a non-family member at our house, we're going to give them some of our food and we're going to treat them like one of our own from like a very early, like that 12-stepping mentality from a very early phase.
Yeah, to me, it's normal.
Yeah, to you,
right?
it's normal.
But to the average person, it's not normal, right? There definitely was times, though, where it's like, I don't have a normal dad.
No, yeah, I'm sure.
Right? And growing up, I really didn't start to notice it until, like, as I got older. Growing up and being like, okay, my dad's on the phone all the time, right? Like,
Yeah.
whatever we were doing, he answered his phone. He didn't care the time of day, right? Or, I would be at a lacrosse game in high school and one of his sponsees would show up because they needed him in that moment.
Right.
So, me and my older sister say that, like, Narcotics Anonymous became my dad's new addiction.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. It could get that way.
It could. And I think at one point, maybe I was resentful for it.
For sure.
But now, like, looking back, I know that he needed to do that. And, like, I needed him to do that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I remember, way back 20, 25 years ago, being on the phone and, my wife say, hey, your kids want to know why you're always on your phone. You're like, wow, I didn't know they noticed.
It's so
Well,
funny.
they do notice.
Yeah. We talking about this. I'm going through this now, right? Like my oldest daughter is about to be 10 and that all they see is me on the phone.
That's
and
right.
Like very distracted. And I don't really like let them know the extent of what it is I
Sure.
do, but then they're like, why are you always on the phone? I'm like, because I need to help this sick person. You know what I mean? That's like a big part of my job. It's also like a big part of my life. We'll get into that more later. They know that like dad can't drink grown-up drinks because he's sick, right?
Grown-up
And
drinks.
that's what they call it,
I know,
grown-up drinks.
that's cool.
They're like, is that a grown-up drink? I'm like, come on, it's not a grown-up drink. Like, I don't drink grown-up drinks. And my oldest is 10, and she's like started to become like more inquisitive as to like why that is. And listen, I don't sit here and tell her like, listen, I have a spiritual malady that like I will take all of your toys and sell them at a thrift store to feed. Like, I can't explain that to
No,
her.
and there's
No,
Right?
you can't do that at this young age.
But she knows like a lot of my close friends have passed away from the same quote unquote illness in her eyes that I suffer from, right? Like she knows it's serious. But I see the resentment starting to grow in those like, those developmental years, 10 to probably like 15, where you want to be the main focus of your household, not even just like your parents. Like you want your priorities to come first.
I think the biggest thing for me that really helped with it is that my dad didn't try and hide it from me.
Yeah.
Right? Like we embraced it as a family. My mom embraced his recovery. Right? Like there are some people where it is hush hush, right? Like I don't want the outside world knowing. That's not how it was in my household. It was like, let me show you what I do. Let me show you the people that I help. And in turn of that, I think for me, that helped me be who I am as a person.
Sure.
Right? And it showed me that like, that's the type of person I want to be. I want to be that safe space for anyone else. And I think also that kind of led me down my different paths that I've gone through in my own life. I was terrified of like in high school getting caught drinking or smoking weed.
Of course.
I mean, when your
Oh,
dad's
you
like,
smoked weed?
oh yeah.
Were you honest about it?
No, my dad would know if I smoked weed if I was 10 miles away from my house.
Right.
Yeah.
It was like this sixth sense he
Right.
had. I planned a whole thing. Like I'm staying at a friend's house. I'm doing it at this time. So by the time I wake up, you have no idea this or that, right? I didn't start drinking. Like I tried, a couple drinks here and there until I was probably like the first time I had a crazy, drunk story. I was probably like 17 years old, like a senior in high school.
Yeah.
I'd go to all the like parties and stuff, but I was like, no.
You guys don't understand.
You don't understand.
Yeah.
Right.
My dad's not just going to be like,
I'm going to wind
drink-
up at my own kitchen table.
like, yeah. And my
wind
dad
up.
had this thing where like, if he used to have sponsees come to the house and you knew that like you were messing up if you were outside like putting together our deck. Right? Like manual labor. I was not doing it. I did not want that happening to me because I knew I would be the one out there putting the deck together.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
So did he ever try and push you towards 12-step programming?
No, it wasn't that. It was like your journey is going to be your journey.
I
But
love that.
I grew up with a lot of like wisdom that I use today to help other people.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? One of the biggest things my dad used to say to me all the time, he'd be like, you know how I know you're not listening? I'm like, oh, here we go. He's like, because as soon as I'm done talking, you have something to say. He's like, you're too busy thinking about what your response is going to be than to actually hear what I'm saying. And like, I really try and let that stick with me.
Absolutely.
Right? So I can actually take in what other people are saying.
I think it's so funny that what'd you major in college
So
when you interned for us?
So I actually was going to school for special education. And I will never forget the day, but it was the first day of our spring term in March. And I was not being fulfilled by what I was going to school for. There was just like something missing in my life. At this point, my dad had passed away in October. And
While you were in college?
while I
he
was in
passed
my
away?
freshman year,
Yeah.
which was like a lot of what happened on my journey. It came rooted from that happening. But
What year was that?
2015.
15, that's right. Okay.
I just turned 18 in August. I was going to school. I was all excited. And then within 60 days of starting my freshman year, my dad passed away. So I wasn't getting fulfillment out of life, right? Like, I just lost this big person that, like, in my mind, I'm like, your dad's supposed to be there.
Yeah.
Like, till I'm like at least 40 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot of people around me had lost a parent. Like, this was one of the first true, like, traumatic things I had to go through. So I wasn't getting fulfillment. I had just gone through this loss. And I remember, like, being interested in substance abuse because it's something I've always grown up around.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't want to take psychology. I didn't care about, like, the, you know, different theories and this and that,
That's
right?
too generic anyway.
Exactly. I'm
It
like,
seems
no.
it.
I want some chaos in my life,
Yeah.
right?
For
Like,
sure.
let's just say what it is.
Keep it exciting.
Yeah. So there was this class being offered in the nursing school called Introduction to Addictive Behaviors. So I'm like, oh, this seems interesting. Not just substance abuse. It could be kind of anything, right?
Right. Sure.
So it was this beautiful day in March. I can see it now. I'm like walking back to my dorm after taking this class. And I go back to my dorm room and my mom called me. I was just telling her all about it. And she's like, Dannielle, when can you get home? And I'm like, what? I'm like, just say it.
Yeah.
Like, at this point, I knew something was wrong in her, like, tone of voice. And I'm like, just say it. Like, I don't know how fast I can get home. I mean, I only live 30 minutes away.
Right.
And she's like, Max passed away. Max is my older brother.
Oh.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? And he passed away from an overdose.
Was he like in and out?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In and out. Talk about being something being pushed.
Yeah.
Right? Because my brother always had a problem, right? He went to an alternative high school. There was behavioral issues. There was resentment towards that. I have 2 half siblings, Max and my sister Maddie. And they grew up when my dad was in active addiction and their mom was in active addiction as well.
Okay.
So there's a lot that goes with that. But like when you hear step siblings, our relationship, it was not like that. Like those were my brother and sister,
course.
right?
Yeah.
Like
Sure.
we went through a lot together. And my sister always says the best thing that happened from my parents getting divorced was you coming along. And it's like,
Nice.
it's that kind of relationship.
Yeah.
So my brother always, you know, dabbled in and out, had some time sober, didn't. But like, imagine going to an NA meeting and getting, oh, you're Bobby's son? Like, that's a lot of pressure.
I
Oh my
grew up
God,
with
yeah.
a deep-seated resentment for NA, I'm sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
100%.
Especially when you're sick. Like, if you had it, like, can you imagine? I probably would have never made it in either, you know? Like, really.
But like, I had resentment towards my dad because I now had a strained relationship with my older brother because of their relationship.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, great. Like, maybe the one good thing from my dad passing away is like now me and Max can really build this bond. And he passed away almost 6 months to the day after my dad died.
Wow.
Did he ever put time together?
Previously,
Yeah.
he did. But the day he passed away was the day I took that class.
Yeah.
And I said, if this is not a sign from my higher power that like this is where I need to go,
Sure.
then I don't know what else is. And that was like the first moment that I knew that there was a bigger calling for me out there and like I had to go on this journey to find it.
Cute. And then what? So you finished your major, but
Well, no,
switched.
I switched.
Full switched.
Full switch. Halfway through, I was like, this is what I'm going to do. I didn't know what I was going to do with it. And then there was like, maybe there's a way I can help carry my dad's legacy through me. But that's huge shoes to fill.
Sure is.
I feel like you kind of do it,
You
bud.
do it though.
Yeah.
But like for someone who thinks like, I don't want to be anything like that, right? but I start to see a lot of things. I'm like, oh my God, am I my father's daughter?
People say you're just like him. Like they say, I've never met Bobby Bonds, but like people say she's just like Bobby Bonds. You know what I mean? And I think like the real blessing is that you're not sick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's almost like you're one of us in the 12-step community. You know
Well,
what
she
I
knows
mean?
more about it than some people that are in it,
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's like,
to be honest.
even from the first day I met her, it was just kind of like, she was just like one of us. You know what I mean? It was very bizarre. While
Because it
not,
was normal for me,
yeah.
Mhm.
right? Like there was no judgment at all. I'm like, this is home. This is comfortable for me.
Yeah.
Being around these
Mhm.
people who are part of this community, like, if anything, it's brought me closer.
Well, you literally grew up around it. It's not like you knew anything else. You
That's
just
all
knew
I
this is
knew.
what your father did,
Yeah.
and he would show up with people and feed them and whatever. So yeah, you were brought up in that culture, so to speak.
Yeah. And then there was also like the not great side of it, right? Of like, you know, when my dad had lung cancer. And I remember there being a time where my dad was like, one of his sponsees was going through a hard time. And it was like, we need to make sure that like no one goes upstairs because that's where all his medication was,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
Yeah.
I
So
mean,
like there's that.
that's garbage.
Exactly.
That's garbage. Nobody should be judging anybody that's got stage
Oh.
4 cancer that needs some pain meds.
Well,
I don't care what anybody says.
yeah, it's just like he tried so hard to
I got it,
not,
though. Yeah,
right?
I get it.
At a
Because it's
certain
like,
point, though.
well,
At a certain point,
that's where the
forget about it.
conversation comes in,
Yeah.
and it's like, okay, well, you need to do whatever you can to live, right? But that's where my dad had to have that connection with his higher power and
Mm-hmm.
his sponsor to be like, Bobby, what
Yeah,
are
what
you
are you
doing?
doing, man?
Yeah.
Right.
Like, let's not mess around with any of this, you know, things like that. So you see it from all different
Mm-hmm.
perspectives, you know?
So what did you do to keep your dad's memory alive?
So it was hard at first,
Mhm.
right? Because it's like, what are we going to do? We
Right.
need to be able to figure something out because he did help a lot of people and we don't want that to just go away.
Mm-hmm.
Because something I've learned over time is that when someone who is really big in any type of community, right? You take a mayor, for example, like people are going to go back to their lives, right? People forget to check in, things like that.
Eventually, yeah.
Yeah, it's been almost 10 years since he's passed away. So it's like kind of on to the next thing. I hate to say it.
Sure.
But the one thing is like there was so much good that he did do that, yeah, we wanted to keep that memory and legacy alive. So my mom, pretty soon after my dad passed away, sat with some pretty close friends of him and on like our living room floor and was like, I want to start a nonprofit in his memory. And the mission of the nonprofit is helping those who are moving their lives from active addiction to active recovery. And just 2 years ago, I was asked to sit on the board
Mm-hmm.
of the nonprofit because we needed to start really getting out into the community. And that's a big passion of mine, right?
Sure.
What's happening, what we say is hush hush, it's like 1 in 4 people know someone, probably more than that now.
Definitely.
Right?
Yeah.
Suffer from some type of substance abuse or mental health. And this stigma, we got to break it down. And the way to do that is by just having these conversations, right?
100%.
And like knowing that what happens behind closed doors doesn't have to be behind closed doors.
Mm-hmm.
This is a non-judgment
What's
zone.
the name of it?
It's called the Bobby Bonds Memorial Foundation. And what we do is provide resources for people who are really in the early stages of recovery, right? We're talking 24 hours to 6 months sober. And we've helped people in long-term recovery as well because
Good.
at any moment, that can change.
That's right.
And it's like everything from sober living to like assistance with getting into treatment in some capacity.
Helping with medical bills
Yeah.
from treatment, or, some medical conditions that happen through active addiction, right?
Sure.
So it's helping connect individuals with those resources and helping set them up for success.
Very
That's
noble.
great. Well, I mean, I've used it. I've called on the Bobby Bonds Foundation to help somebody before.
Good.
They show up, dude.
And we like to be that way, right? Because my dad showed up. No matter
Always.
who that person was, right?
And when it started,
up.
it was just your mom, right?
It was just my mom. It was, I don't know if you know Al Perry.
Yeah.
He was a big part of it, and some of, my dad's longtime friends. And now it's started to evolve. It's actually pretty cool because the people we have sit on the board now may have known of my dad, might not have known him personally, but they want to help.
Sure.
Yeah.
Is that a 501c3?
It is a 501c3.
So if anybody looks it up and wants to donate, it is it's tax deductible.
It is tax deductible. We're on social media and we're trying to grow this thing. I'm like, we have the potential to be like a huge nonprofit, go worldwide.
Oh, 100%.
Sure.
When you started, it was just the golf outing, right?
It was just the golf outing.
And now we have the softball
We have a
tournament,
softball tournament.
which is huge.
Yeah,
And
that's
it's
cool.
a fun day. And then we just started a new event last September. It's a fellowship brunch. And it actually is for us to give back to different sober livings, things like that, where we have two speakers, one from NA and one from AA, come and share their story and just really give people the opportunity to walk away with like a good feeling, right?
Really? I didn't even know about this.
I know. It's starting to become a thing.
What month do you have that?
So it was in September. We might keep it September this year. We might change it to March, just kind of feeling it out. But it's really just like a great place to go. And it's not one 12 step or the other, right? Like we're doing the thing where we're bringing everyone together, right? Because at the end of the day, all one common goal.
Sure.
I remember like the early years of the softball tournament. I'm not going to say it was like a struggle to fill, but like
It was.
there were weeks where we were like, we need more teams for the softball tournament, right? It's in Northeast Philly. It's right like what's the name of the park?
Behind CFCF.
It's behind CFCF.
Oh, right behind
Yeah.
the...
On Penny
Right
and
on the river,
Pennypack.
in Pennypack.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
That's a great...
That's where it
Gotcha.
is, right? And I remember one year it was like of a guy who was on our podcast, Chris. He's a big part of the softball tournament. So Chris was like, you need to call everyone you know. They need to put in a team for the Bobby Bonds, right? That year, was that the first year or the second year?
First or second. I think it was the first.
It was the first. That year, we all show up that morning. It had rained.
We couldn't even play on the field.
We couldn't even play on the fields, and like all these people were there in this
Mudsliding.
dude, this wet Northeast Philly field, right? Like it's just like a mess, but like we had a great time. This year, the docket filled in what, a day?
Oh, with teams?
Oh,
The
I
teams
opened.
filled
the like sign-ups second week of March. 2 weeks later, it was filled. I had to close it.
It was
Wow.
filled.
We just
How about that?
yesterday closed our like one of our sponsorship T-shirt sponsors with 22 shirt sponsors. That's the most we've ever had.
Wow.
That's a big shirt.
It's
Yeah.
a big shirt.
That's a big shirt. A
We're
lot
gonna
of
have to put
logos.
logos on the front,
Yeah,
everything.
on the sleeve.
But the one great thing I can say is that every single dollar that comes in goes out. Right? We don't just sit with it in the bank.
Right, that's good.
It's truly like,
Oh, it gets
and
you,
it goes
yeah.
into the community.
Mm-hmm.
Like you
Sure.
can see it. We have a scholarship for anyone who is going into the field of substance abuse, set up with one of the local high schools.
Cool.
Like it's some pretty neat stuff that's being done.
It's like definitely diversifying. And are these your ideas, or is this the board together?
It's the board together collective. But we are trying to really, like, we're going to offer a financial literacy class to different recovery houses in the
Nice.
community. We're doing holiday dinners. We're trying to branch out because, again, it impacts everyone at different times.
Sure.
Right?
This is
Yep.
so exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited about it.
It's just like funny because when Dannielle was the intern, right? And she's like running groups and she's like, I'm going to be a therapist, right? I'm going to be a therapist. I'd be like, I don't think you're going to be a therapist, dude. I think you're going to be like bigger than that. You know what I mean? Just because she was so bold and not, I don't want to say in your face, but she was like she meant business. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She was here to stay. She ended up going to work for another provider after that, where, I mean, you were like the best therapist that worked there.
I was doing everything. Like, I wore so many different hats, but I loved it. I
You
was
love that
like,
job. Yeah.
this is great, until I was like, okay, this is too much for me.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Like,
Sure.
I worked with a lot of young women,
Mm-hmm.
newly sober, which was actually like my specialty, I'd say. But I was like, okay, I'm taking on too much of their stuff that like this is now in. Let's be real for a second. I didn't deal with my stuff,
Yeah. On your own.
right? So I have my stuff and I'm taking on other people's stuff, and like it was going to be disastrous for me.
That'll drive you to drink, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, like, I think, I was going in a different direction at one point in my life, right? I was dealing with the loss of my dad. I was dealing with the loss of my brother. I was on my own for the first time. Like, I thought it was normal. I was trying to pack in everything like someone does when they're in high school and college into like such a short period of time.
You were self-destructing.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I said earlier that like I wanted that chaos. Like I was creating that chaos in my own life. And I was so far from the person that I really was deep down that I like think about it now. If I saw that person walking on the street, I would not associate that person with this Dannielle today.
Yeah.
About that.
So how'd you overcome that?
Well, I think one of the things was taking myself out of that environment.
Yeah.
Right? Like I moved out of the city. I'm also going to say like COVID helped with that.
Definitely. Yeah.
Because like I couldn't go out partying the way I was when COVID was happening. I had to like actually be alone. Right?
Didn't we all?
And you kind of submerged yourself more into like our community at that time as well, which made sense.
I started putting myself around people who either I wanted the things they had or they were living the life I wanted. To the point where like all my close friends started being a part of some type of 12-step community, right?
Yeah.
They were on this journey of like healing themselves, and I wanted that, but I needed to discover that by like getting comfortable with being with Dannielle and like looking in the mirror and being like, okay, this is not the person you really are. So what do I need to do to change it? And it was taking all of the advice that other people told me, or I was dishing out to people and was like, I'm being hypocritical. I can't be who I am and do good at my job if I'm doing these things.
Yeah.
Like the two, that's like oil and water.
Yeah. You're like clocking out and then going against what you just told someone to do.
Right.
And that's not okay. Now, I'm not going to say like, oh, I've healed from the loss of my dad and my brother, right? Like,
yeah, of course.
therapy wasn't for me, right? But putting myself in this community of like working in an industry where like I have to help other people and like in a sense walk the walk, right?
Sure.
It's changed like who I am and has helped me heal from these things that like I went through.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie and say I don't have times where like I know I really need to like go through the grief. And I get scared that someday I'm going to wake up in 20 years from now and it's like I never processed the loss of my dad or my brother or some of these other things. But then on the flip side of that, I think about it and I'm like, but I am. grief looks different for every
Yep.
single person.
It does,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And there's no black and white answer. And I have to get that through my head and be like, you are doing it though.
You are in your own way.
In my own way. And
By helping others, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's by helping others and it's surrounding myself with people, with good people. Like really, that's what for me the key is, right? For me to like stay and be this version of myself that I want to be, I need to put myself around the right people and like have people that are going to hold me accountable.
Just like maintaining a good network.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever, I never asked you this before, and I've always wondered, have you ever indulged in like alternative 12-step fellowships like Naranon or like ACA?
So funny you say Naranon.
Yeah.
My grandmother started the first Naranon meeting
No way.
in Montgomery County,
Really?
Really?
Wow.
in Bryn Mawr.
Yeah, of
How about
course.
And it was in on the first floor of a church in Bryn Mawr. I forgot the name of it, but it was going on the same time as the NA meeting downstairs. So family members had a place to go while their family member was in a meeting.
Was in NA. I wonder if it's that one church. God, what's it called? Holy Redeemer?
It is Holy Redeemer.
It is Holy Redeemer?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
And-
the only NA meeting I ever went to.
And the Naranon meeting still happens today.
With the NA meeting? It does.
That
Did
I'm
you ever go
aware
to
of.
that?
Oh, yeah. I tried to start a NAR teen meeting when I was in
What is that?
high school.
What's Naratine?
It's the same thing, but for young adults.
For like children of addicts.
Of
or alcoholics.
addicts.
Alateen and
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
Naratine. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's the same thing. I tried to start it, couldn't really get it going, but I was involved in that. But again, right, and I'm going to speak from what my mom shared with me. For her, it was hard for her to go to Naranon because her mother-in-law was this big name
Right.
in Naranon.
Can't really say what's on your mind when.
When your
Definitely not.
mother
When it's getting back to your worst
Right.
enemy.
That's awesome.
can't really say anything
just
about her
kidding.
son when, you
Right.
know,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, that's an awkward situation.
Yeah, but we all find our ways, right? She had a great support network, as did I. And I think, my fiance is in long-term recovery. And for me, it's interesting. I'm like, oh my gosh, I am going down the path my mother went down.
For
like
sure.
very similar.
Yeah.
But it's great because I have someone I can talk to about it.
Yeah.
Right? Like I can go to my mom, and also I've experienced this has been my entire life. So I know exactly like what this household's going to look like,
Absolutely.
right? And like
You've seen this movie. Yeah.
way too many times,
Yeah.
right? Where it's just like, okay, I can be that partner though that he needs for someone who gets it without getting it.
You get it enough
Yeah.
through experience and professional
Yeah.
capacity, It's kind of funny. I keep it, in my marriage at least, very separate. But she knows, I think I've talked about this on the podcast before, like even being in long-term recovery, my defects come to light every now and again, sometimes multiple times a day. You know
Got
what I
that
mean?
right.
And she knows, and she never co-signs it, right? Like there's no, oh, that's just because X, Y, and Z, you haven't been to a meeting. She's like, you better knock it off. You know what I mean? Like she just knows, and she has no sympathy for it whatsoever. If I need to do what I need to do to get myself right, there's a platform for that,
Oh, yeah.
I'm fully capable of doing that myself, but she doesn't enable me, is what I'm saying.
Good.
And that's important, right?
It's
and she'll
huge.
hold you accountable.
It's big time.
Yeah.
Big time.
But there's times my fiance is holding me accountable and he's like, you need to check yourself, right?
Yeah, you need to take a
But
look in the mirror.
that's part of a healthy relationship.
Yeah, for sure. It is.
And I think that's something that helped me get my life back on path is being in a healthy relationship.
Yeah, and all the work that goes into that. Yeah. A lot of trial and error.
A lot of trial and error.
Well,
Lot of
especially early.
A lot of trial
Yeah,
and error.
right?
But you've been married for like forever, Vin.
Long time.
Yeah. Vin's in the maintenance phase. You know what I mean? He's on
32 years.
He's on cruise control. At
Oh
this
yeah,
point.
you got it.
Yeah, we're still hitting speed bumps.
But that's part of life, right? Like no
Absolutely.
matter any area, marriage, recovery,
You
whatever
have to grow
it is.
into it.
Exactly.
Got to grow in it.
Exactly.
So you're getting married this fall
This fall.
to a man you met while working in the field.
Yes.
Correct.
Correct.
He's a great guy. Know him well. Are you excited for what that looks like? Like, what does that look like for you? How old are you now?
I'm gonna be 28 in August.
Ooh,
Wow,
where'd the
it's so
time go?
crazy.
I know.
Where did it actually
Well, you
go?
want to know something funny? I celebrated my 21st birthday in rehab,
Yeah.
but not as
Like working.
Yeah,
working, right?
yeah.
Like that
I
to
remember,
me
yeah.
is just like never thought I'd say that.
I celebrated my 21st birthday about 3 weeks after I got out of treatment.
Did you? Oh, yeah, you got sober before you were 21.
I went into treatment 6 weeks before I turned 21.
Wow.
Never looked back. 38 and a half years.
Wow.
Yeah,
And
Vin's
what
a
a
one and doneer.
blessing that is, right?
Yeah.
It's funny because a lot of the way that he talks about like his story, when I hear it, it reminds me of, I mean, like him just at the airport, like just helping guys. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Just out of the kind
That's what I did
like,
afterwards. Yeah.
that he just did it. You know what I mean? Like he would just do it. It kind of reminds me of like the way you talk about your dad, like
Oh,
very
yeah.
similar. You know, like a guy who would because you know a lot of us we keep it in the rooms. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But this guy would listen. If I went back in time and I was still sick and suffering, I could have been boarding a flight, and this guy probably would have came up to me and been like, "Listen, brother, is everything okay?" You know what I mean? Like he is like in your face, like we'll help you, we'll give you
God.
the shirt off his back, and we'll tell you about yourself in the moment. You know
Oh,
what I mean?
100%.
Which
Yeah,
reminds
right.
me a lot of the lore of Bobby Bonds.
We were in New York
Yeah,
one time
sure.
on a subway ride, and there was someone, and my dad went up to him and started talking to him. And in my mind, I'm like,
How could you do that? Right.
what's happening? Like,
Oh, my
we're
God.
in New York City having a family day, which was far and few between. Yet there he was helping someone, and he had no problem telling you about yourself. But he always did it in this delivery where, like, you wouldn't realize he was telling you about yourself till the conversation was done, and you're like, did he really just say that? But a lot of times it's the truth, right? Like,
You got to know how to put it.
oh, 100%.
Got to know how to say it.
So I guess what's next for you outside of getting married? I mean, now you hold a different role. You work in our industry.
Mm-hmm.
Very much aligned. You're on the board of your dad's nonprofit. That I kind of thought you always were. Only 2 years.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? Well, because I was just involved myself, right? I'm like,
You
you
were
could
always
use some
kind
of me
involved in
there.
it. What's the future look like for you? You don't know.
I mean,
Continuing to support.
yeah, continuing to do that. I'd like to grow into just kind of developing my own legacy in a sense, right? I would love to be able to do nonprofit work full time. That would be the ideal, situation. Maybe it'll come to the day where I can start my own nonprofit branched off of this to continue helping.
You start your own nonprofit?
Why
Not just
not?
take over the Bobby Bonds
I mean,
when it's your Mother's Day.
if that comes anytime soon,
Yeah.
we'll see. But I don't know. Ever since I was like a little kid, I knew I was like put on this earth to help people.
Yeah. By
And
watching your dad, for sure, right?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it was just like we had that similarity. That was like the unspoken bond between me and my dad.
Yeah,
Right? Like,
for sure.
Thankfully, it wasn't a different similarity.
I know. God bless
You know what I mean? We might not be sitting here.
yeah, exactly. They always say, like, you're either going to go down one or two paths, right? I think having it like in my face was either going to take me down the path of like, let me try this, right? Or the path I did go down. And for me, had I not had that environment to grow up in, you're right. We don't know if I would be sitting here.
No.
So what's in the future is I really think that like I want to continue just helping the next person as I saw done for so many people, because one of my favorite things is seeing someone come full circle.
Yeah, of course.
Absolutely.
Right. And just like continuously being in their life and just knowing that like maybe I had just like a tiny, like little part of that fulfills me.
Yeah, absolutely. That's good. That's how you know you're one of us, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because like your story is very much one of recovery. It really is.
Seems
It's one
like
of
it,
recovery.
yeah.
There's bumps and bruises along the way. There's self-discovery along the way. There's taking a look in the mirror. You know, the whole thing that a lot of us go through on the path of trying to get clean and sober. You just don't have a chemical dependency, which is a blessing. But
Yeah, absolutely.
I think you should get involved in like Nar-Anon or something like that.
Maybe
I
I'll
think you
set
could do
that
a
as
lot.
my...
You could do a lot more for that community than's being done right now.
I don't disagree. Maybe I'll set that as my goal,
You should.
right? For start now to succeed in 2026.
Absolutely.
At least think about it.
Yeah.
You're right.
You should do it.
I just had like a moment where it's, why not?
Yeah, why wouldn't you? It would only take one day out of the week for you to completely put that upside down. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, you should do it.
Well, thank you, Sam.
You're
that
very
just
welcome,
gave me
Dannielle.
such a good. I'm
Yeah,
like,
of course.
There you go.
you know,
You're welcome.
And it's everything happening when it's supposed to. Because I was just thinking, I'm like, I want a new, not a hobby, but like a passion, right? Something to spark that. Let's go get it inside of me, because it's, you know, we all fall flat at times, and now I think he just gave me what it might be.
Well, the beautiful thing about that is it would force you to actually show up and work a 12-step program like the rest of us. And like have, not saying you don't have experience, but like actually have your own experience doing it. You know what I mean? Especially when talking about healing from some of these grievances you've suffered in your life. Like maybe that's the next step of that grief.
But you know what's making me a little nervous?
What? Don't be nervous. I mean, you know what? You should be nervous.
Is showing up to a meeting, right, by myself, because it's that like being the new person,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But we've all done it before.
Absolutely.
You have to walk in like you own the place.
Yeah.
Well, which I did 7 years ago.
You sure did. Came in like a wrecking ball.
Right.
Well, this has been great. Like this has been
Different kind of conversation.
different kind of
That's for sure.
podcasts, different kind of guests, which I always like. I always like when we, not saying I don't love all of our guests, but to get like a different perspective from someone who's had a different experience, but is still very, very close to the world of recovery. I love.
Absolutely.
Seeing something through another lens.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Sure.
of course.
Because
Yeah.
they always say it's not just the addict, it's the family.
It's the family for
Oh,
sure.
yeah.
The family affected. And you get such a blend of different perspectives from
Oh.
that too.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, it was our pleasure having you.
Thank you for having me. I feel
And,
honored.
We appreciate all the work that you're doing in your father's name, the Bobby Bonds Memorial Foundation, 501c3 nonprofit, and whatever your plans are in the future. Come back and see us, because it was great having you. It was great having your perspective on, you know, like I said, other things that we don't normally talk about on this podcast. So I think that may wrap it up.
Means
I really appreciate you coming on.
Me too.
I appreciate you asking me to be a part of this.
I was
really,
excited. No, you did. Listen, this was great. I can't wait to see what the future holds for you. Bobby Bond softball tournament's coming up May 18th.
May 16th.
16th. I'll be there.
Behind the prison.
I'll be
Behind
there.
the prison.
Behind the
CFCF,
prison,
In
Philly.
right on the
Philly,
river.
Pennypack Park. You can't miss us.
Right on the river.
It's a great time, and just excited to be able to keep doing what we're doing.
Terrific. Well, we're real happy to have you. And anything you want to say in closing? Or did you just say it?
She
I
just
think I
said
just
it.
said
There you
it.
She
go.
just
All
said
right,
it.
cool.
Yeah.
Well, for Tenacious Recovery Podcast, my name is Vinny. I'm an alcoholic and an addict.
And I'm Sam. I'm an alcoholic and an addict.
And we really enjoyed having Dannielle. And again, this is Tenacious Recovery. You got to be tenacious about your recovery. if you want to stay sober. Come back and see us, and God willing, we'll see you all soon.